Hello, and thank you for joining me today. This is the last video that I will be doing on fluting, at least for a while. I realized the other fluting videos that I had done were all on relatively vertical forms, which is a little less tricky than doing something tapered. And so I'm doing just this really quick, short video on tapered forms and some things to keep in mind when you're cutting tapered forms. Well, to start with, there are two most important things I think that you need to consider for all tapering, and that's the angle of the blade against the clay and also the angle of your force applied, meaning which direction are you pulling. And to get the most support from the form that you're trimming, you should pull, your pull should be parallel to the wall, if at all possible. Especially with this soft trimming where the clay is likely to deform. And then to get a proper cut, to get a proper solid, nice single stroke flute, you need a proper angle of cut. So if your angle's too shallow, you have to press down more to compensate. You're going to deform the wall. If your blade is too deep, you're going to, even if you're pulling parallel or even less than parallel, you're going to cut through the wall. So those are two main things you've got to basically consider. Now here, the important thing is keep your wrist and your hand rigid and pull down with your arm. And that'll give you a steady, even pressure for that cut. And then coming up here is one more thing. I do not normally recommend, if you are trimming and it's not quite deep enough and you want to recut a flute, I don't normally recommend that. What happens is the pot itself is soft to begin with. It's rested before you flute, and the wall is a certain thickness that's going to support the weight that you're exerting on it. Then you trim it. You got a thin one, just like I did here. And I'm going back here and I'm re-trimming that, which I do not normally do, and I don't recommend it, because what you've done is you've trimmed once, you've destabilized that area. The clay is thinner, and so the chances of it holding up to that recut is much slimmer than the first time you'll try to cut a flute in one area. So be real careful. You really have to consider what kind of clay you're using, what the hardness of it is when you're trimming it and everything before you decide to go ahead and re-trim anything like that. And also, on that note, when you're taking off the crumbs and smoothing off the trimming at this stage, be very, very gentle, because that freshly fluted form is going to be very fragile and easy to deform. Alright, here we're going from a different angle, but it's the same process. I'm keeping the hand rigid and I'm pulling down with the arm. And I'm just giving that tool just a little angle up at the end, and that little bit is enough to bring that blade out of the clay, so that I don't have to change the angle of the pull. I just change the angle of the blade and it comes right out at the bottom with a nice smooth exit. If you don't want a smooth exit, sometimes you don't, leave the angle the same, keep it going all the way down to the lip like that, and then just pull the tool away and it'll give you a nice torn edge. Sorry, the focus is a little weird here. The camera, it keeps going in and out. I cut the worst of it, but there was still a little bit left here. A little rock there. If that happens, don't panic. It either can be smoothed over or tamped back in. And if it's in a place that leaves a hole, you can fill that in later. here comes one that would be a problem, but we're not going to sweat it. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked it and want to subscribe.